Welcome to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, and thank you all for joining. I hope everyone is doing well. Hope you are having a great week so far. Today, I'll be joined by Liam Naden. Liam is a speaker, teacher, author, researcher. He teaches neurostate rebalancing, which is a process of eliminating problems and taking control of your life by rebalancing the four parts of your brain. So stay tuned. I'll be right back with Liam. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Right now, I'm excited to welcome Liam into the Gyrl podcast. Welcome, Liam.
Thank you, Kyra. It's really nice to be talking to you.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into our chat for today. So let's get started with you telling everyone out there listening and watching who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm someone who's consumed and have been most of my life with the question, why do we get the results we do in our life? And how can we get what we want rather than what we don't want? And really that's driven me to study all sorts of different things from religion, psychology, spirituality, personal development, self-help, and motivation, all sorts of different things. And these days, what I do is I sort of refine my ideas, if you like, into an area where I think the whole key to everything about what we get in our life lies, and that's how we use this thing between our ears called our brain.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. Well, let's dive in. First, let's talk about you and how you discovered the secret of true success.
Well, in my mid-40s, I'm a little bit older than that now, but when I was in my mid-40s, I went from being a multimillionaire and doing pretty well, I thought, to losing everything. I literally became homeless almost overnight, and I ended up sleeping on the sofa in the living room of my elderly mother's apartment, her small apartment, and I had absolutely nothing. And it really puzzled me as to why that had happened to me, because up until that point, I'd been pretty successful. I'd always had my own business. I'd had a lot of different businesses, and I'd built up, a fair amount of success, if you like. But as I mentioned earlier, I'd always been a student of success. So as somebody who was always setting goals and writing out my goals list, and I went to lots of seminars and read lots of books and did courses and listened to everything from hypnotic tapes on changing your subconscious mind or changing your beliefs. And, I used affirmations, writing things positive statements on a card and reading them as often as I could throughout the day. So I tried all of these things for years, but it didn't stop me from losing everything. And I thought, well, this is a bit weird, to say the least, because I thought I was an expert on how to make your life work, on how to set goals and how to achieve them and how to use positive thought and all of those things. But really, it hasn't helped me at all. I feel totally out of control. Losing everything wasn't on my goals list.
Right.
But anyway, I built my life back, as most people manage to do through an experience like that. And what I noticed was when I was starting to recover, I started to make money again, and I started to set up new businesses and do things, if you like, be productive, and started to enjoy life again, doing some of the things I wanted to do. But what I really noticed was there was a big difference between my life after losing everything and before, because what had tended to happen before is that I was chasing after success. I was one of those people, probably like many of your listeners, maybe even like you, but I always wanted to know, how can I get more? How can I achieve bigger and better and set bigger goals and achieve more? So I was always really pushing hard to try and be more and more successful. Mm-hmm. And with that came, I guess, success, because as I say, I was doing well financially, and I had my own business, and I was doing a lot of the things that people would say are great things to do, and I was having good times. But I also had lots of stress, and I had lots of problems. And I thought, because I'd read in many books, I thought that's the price you pay when you're successful. That's how you get to be successful. is you have to overcome all sorts of adversity. You have to struggle. You have to work really hard and deal with all of these problems. And when you achieve, quote unquote, success, well, problems and stress, that's just part of the game. That's what comes with, that's the other side of success, if you like. Now, I've subsequently come to discover and learn that none of those things are actually true. And the way I proved that to myself first was when I started to rebuild my life back and do really a lot more fun things and make money again and set up new businesses, one thing I noticed was I was enjoying it a lot more. And I didn't really have any stress. I didn't really have any problems. And I remember thinking, this is really strange, because it's what it felt like wasn't before, where I was chasing after success. Now it felt like success was chasing after me. And I know we've all heard of the law of attraction, and I thought maybe that's something to do with it. It's sort of something to do with it. But what I realized was I wanted to figure out what I was doing differently, because my life was so much more enjoyable. And instead of me having to struggle to achieve things, people would come into my life unexpectedly. Different new situations, new opportunities would come along. Sometimes we might call them luck or synchronicity or, coincidence or things like that. And again, I've subsequently discovered that's not what they are either, because of how we use our brain. But all of these good things were happening to me in a much more flowing, joyful, and really productive way, where I did, for the first time, feel in control of my life. But I also remember thinking, I want to figure out what I'm doing. What am I doing differently to what I was doing before? Because remember, I'd studied all of these different methods, techniques, ideas, philosophies, ways of becoming, quote unquote, again, successful. And they hadn't worked for me in the end, because firstly, they gave me a lot of stress along the way. And secondly, I ended up losing everything. So I thought, I'm doing something differently. I need to figure out what this is. And really, it was the journey of figuring out what I was doing differently that is what led me to do what I'm doing now, both for myself, but for other people as well, as teaching people and showing them what the key to success actually is. Because what I realized was we've actually all been given a brain. And our brain is a machine that everything in nature has, with only one purpose. And the purpose of a brain for every living thing is to make sure that that living thing has the best life possible, so that it has the greatest chance to survive. Because biological survival is what every living thing is wired to do, is its primary purpose. That's the thing everything predominantly is trying to do, is survive. So for humans, we're no different, because we are biological. We live in a biological world. We're governed by the same rules, if you like, that the rest of nature is. And it turns out that's the function of our brain. That's the purpose of our brain as well, is to make us the best that we can be, so that we have the greatest chance for survival. And that also means, what is the best that you can be? Well, it's the best that you are physically and all those sorts of things, the best that you can be, but it's also mentally and emotionally. So when you really think about it, what this means is, on a biological level, your brain is a machine designed to make you happy and doing everything you want to do in your life. That's its purpose, because when you are happy and you're doing everything you want to do in your life, you have the greatest chance for survival. You're going to live longer. You're going to do better. You're going to be more resourceful. You're going to do better things to ensure your own survival and the survival of others as well. So that was a bit of a breakthrough idea. And I thought, well, okay, so I can accept, and I know now that the brain is a machine designed for every living thing to make it the best that it can be, including us. So why is it that most people aren't being the best that they can be? If we're biologically designed for that, if we have a machine designed to give us that, why is it that most people aren't happy or being the best that they can be? And I think if you ask most people and said, do you think you're the best that you can be? Are you really happy? Do you feel fulfilled in your life? They'd say no. They'd say, no, how could I? I've got all these problems, all the stress, all of these things going on in the world. No way I could be really happy and fulfilled.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
And what I realized, just to finish off this one, is to say it comes down to, there's only one reason why a machine doesn't give you what it's supposed to give you, and that's when you're using it the wrong way. And that's what most people are doing, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So that is what you would say is the reason that, that keeps people from living their ideal lives.
Yeah, well, it's like you think about any machine. What's another machine? A motor car. Now, a
Mm-hmm.
car has a very specific function, a purpose, if you like, and that's designed
Mm-hmm.
to take you from where you are to where you want to go. And
Mm-hmm.
it will do that predictably, reliably, efficiently, and without you having to worry or think about it or get stressed about it. You get in the
Right.
car and it just takes you to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you, of course. You don't do the taking. It takes you. You're there
Right.
for the ride. But
Yeah.
what would happen if you didn't know how to drive that car? You wouldn't use it the right way, and you'd end up with
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of problems. And you might say to yourself, imagine if you'd never seen a motor car before, and you thought, well, I wonder what, and someone said to you, oh, that's a machine that'll take you anywhere you want to go, but you didn't know how to drive it. You might think, well, maybe what I need to do is get out from behind and push the car. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what I need to do. Maybe that's how it'll work. And you'd put in an enormous amount of effort and struggle, and it might move a little bit, but it wouldn't be a fun journey. Or you might be told, well, no, that's not the way to do it. You have to get in and you have to drive it. That's what all these levers and buttons are for. But if you didn't know what was what, you'd end up making a mess of things, wouldn't you? You might blow up the
Yeah.
engine by putting the handbrake on and the accelerator on at the same time, or you might put the wrong fuel into the tank.
Yeah.
Or you might do all of these things, and you would expect that if you weren't driving it right, the machine would give you problems. It wouldn't give you an enjoyable ride, and it wouldn't do the job it was designed to do, which was to get you to somewhere else. So you wouldn't blame the machine. You'd blame the way you were driving,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd say, the fault is me because or someone probably come and tell you, you're going to ruin the machine. You're not going to have a good trip because you're not driving it properly. So it's the same with our brain. When we know how to drive it properly, it will get us to do the job that it's supposed to do. But if we don't, what is the sign that any machine is not being used the right way? It's problems.
Yeah.
And in a very real sense, when problems show up in your life, and this is a really controversial thing to say, and when I first thought about this, I thought, can that really be true? But it logically and biologically is true that if you have problems in your life, they are a sign, a symptom that you're using the machine of your brain the wrong way, because you're not designed to have problems in your life. Problems don't help you live longer, live happier, be better, be the best that you can be. I'm sure everyone would agree when they've had problems, they don't feel great. They don't feel the best they can be.
Yeah.
They're under stress. Their body's
Mm-hmm.
not functioning as well as it could. Their brain isn't functioning as well as it could. So it turns out that problems aren't really a natural part of life, but they're a symptom of using our brain the wrong way, using this biological machine the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. So I guess what would you say is a way for, people to obviously, I guess, think differently, make a shift, because, okay, you think about things like fear and stress and the uncertain, right? That's just life. And, of course, in our lives over the last so many 3 or 4 years, there's been a lot of, fear, stress, and uncertainty. How do people work to move beyond that? Because that's going to trigger a problem, right? When you are having all these things, it's going to lead to some type of problem in your life. So what would you say? How do people work to eliminate those things?
Sure. Well, again, using the car analogy, excuse me, you could say, right, well, what's the quickest way for you to teach me how to get from where I am to 100 miles down the road in this car? And you would say, if someone asks you that, well, I need to explain to you a little bit about how the car works, how you drive it, and you need to practice it a little bit. I can't tell you that in 1 minute. I can't. And the person would say to you, oh, okay, I'm happy to learn all of that, but I just give me a couple of quick tips so I can get 100 miles over the hill by tomorrow. Right. You would have to say, it doesn't work that way. So what I'm really getting at is there's no such thing. I can give you a couple of quick ideas and your listeners a couple of quick ideas, but what needs to come before that is understanding. the most important thing is to understand, because again, when you understand how a car works and someone explains to you that's what that lever does and this is what this button does, you go, well, now I understand. I automatically know how to drive it. All I need is a bit of practice, but there's no way I'd use it the wrong way. And what it turns out with your brain, when you understand how it works, and I can give a very simple model of how it works, which is all based on science and everything else. But once you understand that, you go, oh, I see what I need to do now. I see what I'm doing wrong. I see what everyone's doing wrong, the 98% who are not being the best they can be. And I can see the difference. So maybe it would be more useful if I gave a quick rundown on how your brain works, and then pretty soon the lights will go on and you'll think, oh, I can see now how I've been using it wrong and how I should be using it. Sound all right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, and this is really simplified, but you've got 4 parts to your brain. These are all physical locations, and they all have a different function. The first part's what I call the thinking brain. And what your thinking brain is it's basically a collection or a database or a library of all of the knowledge that you've accumulated in your life right up to this moment. So everything that you take in, you hear, smell, taste, see, touch, or every idea and every piece of information, it gets taken in and stored in your thinking brain, okay? The second part is your emotional brain or your feeling brain. And this is obviously what's responsible for how you feel. This produces chemicals that make you feel different emotions. And they can be everything from love and gratitude and happiness and joy and passion, all the way down to what you mentioned before, fear, stress, anxiety. This is all managed and controlled by the emotional feeling brain. The third part of the brain is the survival brain. And the survival brain does, as the name suggests, it looks after everything to make sure you stay alive. So everything it manages everything automatic, all of your organs, your bodily functions, your breathing, heart rate, all of those things, without you having to think about it, that's all managed by your survival brain. And there's another thing that your survival brain does. There's another feature, if you like, or function within it. And that is, it protects you from threats and dangers in your life. Because remember I said that if our purpose is to be the best that we can be, which means to be happy and excited and being our best, if that's our natural state, that's the way we're supposed to live. But what could get in the way of that? There's only one thing, and that is being faced with an immediate threat or danger, something that might threaten your survival. So, for instance, if we think back to prehistoric times, a good example is you're walking along the forest and a lion jumps out at you. So there you are feeling happy, being your best, walking through the forest, and a lion jumps out at you. So what happens then is this survival part of your brain, actually another part of your brain, it's your emotional brain, recognizes you have a danger, something that could potentially kill you, and it activates a different set of chemicals to create fear, worry, stress, anxiety, all of those fear-based emotions. And it activates something in you that results in a response, a reaction to the danger. We sometimes call it the fight, flight, freeze mechanism. So what literally happens to your brain is it takes you out of feeling good and happy and being your best into this almost panic state where you just are there to react to a danger. So without thinking about it, and automatically you take action to eliminate that danger, or your brain gets you to take action. So you run away, or you shout out for help, or you stand and fight, or whatever it is. Your brain says, there's a danger, you've got to get all of the resources of your body and brain to get rid of this danger as quickly as possible before it kills you. And that's what your survival brain does. And then once you've got rid of that danger, you go back. This is the way you're naturally supposed to be. You go back to your state of feeling and being the best that you can be. So that's a long-winded way of talking about the survival brain. So we've got the thinking brain, feeling brain, and survival brain. The fourth part of the brain, and science has only more recently discovered this is happening in a separate physical location in your body, this function, but it's what I call the creative brain. And this is the part that's supposed to run you, if you like, run your life. because as the name suggests, this is the part that is designed to make sure that you're being the best that you can be. So while you're getting thoughts and information from your thinking brain, and while you're getting emotions from your feeling brain, and while your survival brain is keeping everything running and looking out for the odd danger that might hurt you, your creative brain is managing everything to make you the best that you can be, which means obviously your creativity. It's where your imagination is. It's where your motivation is. It's where you feel love and joy and all these great emotions. And it's where you get great ideas. It's where you come up with new ideas that don't come from anything that you've thought of before, but you suddenly go, oh, that's something I've never thought of. It's where your gut feelings come from about making decisions. So you think, oh, that really doesn't feel right. I shouldn't do that, so I won't. Or you think, that feels right. I'm going to do that. And it turns out to be the right thing. And the other interesting thing is this part of your brain, because remember, your brain is enormously, almost infinitely powerful. It actually manages things that on a low level of awareness you might call luck, coincidence, synchronicity, chance events. This is all actually managed by your creative brain. And when you're using your creative brain properly, you can see this, because what you actually see is the truth about what is, because your awareness is expanded to the level of what is actually true. So you realize it's not luck, it's not chance events. This is all part of your creative brain doing its job that it's designed to do to make you have the best life possible. So this is the way you're supposed to live, using your creative brain to feel resourceful, loving, creative, doing all of the right things, setting the right goals, making the right decisions, being inspired, doing all of those things. What's the only one time when you're not supposed to feel like that? I've already mentioned it, when the lion comes running out from behind the rock. So what actually happens then, as I mentioned, your brain says danger, feel fear, activate your survival brain, and shut down your creative brain. So what happens when you feel, literally what happens when you feel fear, and that includes anxiety, stress, and worry, what it is happening on a biological level is your brain is shutting down all of your creative brain, all of the natural part of you that's designed to give you the best life possible. It's shutting it down because it's telling you that you have an immediate threat to your survival. There's something that's about to harm you. So it gets you to focus on anything that's negative in your life and only see the negative. Because remember, if a lion's running at you, you don't want your brain getting you to look at the trees and the flowers and the lovely view. It's got to focus on anything that's dangerous in your environment, and it's on the lookout to find all of those things. And that's perfect for what it's for. But the problem is, most people are trying to run their life in that state. They're living in a state of fear, stress, worry, and anxiety without realizing that they're putting their brain in the wrong state, the state that can't help them with their problems. It can't help them create their ideal life. It can't do any of those things. That's in your creative brain. Your survival brain, which is activated by fear, stress, and worry and anxiety, is only designed to get rid of a lion in the next 10 seconds.
Right.
That's it. So this is the problem. And this is why people struggle. This is why people set the wrong goals. It's why they're continually looking for more information. It's why they do all the wrong things, because this part of the brain can't handle solving your problems. The problem-solving part is in your creative brain. That's where you know what the right things to do are. So you can see what if I've explained this right, which I hope I have, you can see how to use your brain the right way. You eliminate fear.
Yeah.
You realize fear is the trigger that puts your brain in the wrong state. That's it. It's like putting the wrong fuel into your car. And people say to me, all right, well, that's all right for you. But I've been homeless. I've had problems, or if you like to call them problems, I've had lots of stress. But what I realize is saying that you can't do this, saying that, you don't understand, I've got too many problems in my life. I've got all this, there's too many bad things going on in the world, which you mentioned before. Well, everybody's bound to be super stressed because of all the terrible things that are going on in the world right now. It's natural. Nobody can escape the truth of all the terrible things that are going on. No, it's not like that. That's what your brain is telling you. That's what, because, and the funny thing is, it puts you more and more into the state that tells you more and more that life is dangerous, life is bad, that you are weak, you don't have, that life is dangerous, all of those things. So what you need to realize is you need to make the decision and the choice of whether you're going to allow fear, anything that makes you feel bad, whether you're going to allow it into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone came along to you and said, we've got a new fuel for the motor car, and it's a mixture of hydrochloric acid and water, try that in the fuel, and a little bit of petrol, try that in the fuel tank, you'd go, pardon? Don't you understand how a car works? The car's not going to go. It's going to damage it. It's going to ruin the car if I put that fuel in. And they say, oh, but your grandmother's begging you to put, or your grandmother comes along, please put that fuel in the car. Everybody else is putting it in their cars. And if you really believe, if you have faith, and if you have positive thinking and determination, it won't damage the car. It'll still work okay. You say, look, you just don't understand how the machine works. There's absolutely no way in the world, or no reason you can give me that would justify putting hydrochloric acid into the fuel tank of my car, because it's just going to ruin everything. It's nature. It's the way the machine works. And it's the same with fear in your life. Fear is the hydrochloric acid for your life. It's going to damage you. It's going to prevent you from being the best that you can be. People say, well, how do I get rid of fear? It's actually quite simple, because you have a choice as to what you allow to come into your environment. You have the choice as to whether you want to watch that TV news bulletin that's going to make you feel bad. You have the choice whether you want to have that conversation with somebody about a subject that that's going to make you feel bad. You have the choice whether you want that job that you hate that makes you feel bad, or the part of your business that you don't like, or the employee or the employer that you have that makes you feel really stressed. You actually have a choice over that. The only way you would think that you don't have a choice is when you don't understand that your brain is designed to bring you everything in your life to make you the best that you can be, without you having to worry about it. But it can only do that when you get rid of this fear and worry. That's the only way you can activate that part of your brain. So you don't need to worry about how your life's going to turn out if you don't know what war's happening on the other side of the world, or what so-called disease is going to decimate the entire planet. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff, because you know that your brain is going to protect you. Your brain is going to make sure that you have the best life possible. That's what it's designed to do. And it will do that. It does that if you allow it to, but it won't do that if you feel fear. So your job is to say, what can I do to cut out fear out of my life? And that becomes your only mission. It's a bit like, all I need to do is put the right fuel in the fuel tank, which is not putting the wrong fuel in of things that make me feel bad, and drive the machine the right way, which is allow the creative brain to be in control. That's it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Why don't you tell everybody in the audience about your coaching program, Rebalance Your Brain for Success?
Okay. Well, basically, this is an audio program, excuse me again, with a number of audio lessons that people listen to and a workbook. And there are really three parts to it. The first part is to understand in a lot more detail, but without getting technical, how your brain actually works. Because again, as I said earlier, that's a major thing. Once you understand it, you realize there's only one way to use it, and that's the right way. So that the second part is to really help you identify and eliminate those things in your life that are causing you to use the machine the wrong way. Because a lot of the time we feel fear and anxiety, and we don't really know why we are. We don't realize what we're doing to ourselves, what stimulation or influences that have in our life that are making us feel bad. So the second part of the coaching program is designed to help you look at your life and go and identify all of the things that are making you feel bad, and make the changes, which aren't that difficult if you've done the first part of the program, which is to understand that that's the only game in town. That's the only way that's the way you're designed to live your life. It's not difficult to start to get rid of your fears or stop things that are making you feel bad. So that's the second part. And the third part is all about a process I call neurostate rebalancing. Because here's the thing, like with your car, once you stop putting the wrong fuel in, it's going to go a lot better. So once you stop putting fear into your life and you're feeling a lot better and you are using you're activating the creative part of your brain, so you'll notice your life significantly moving in a much better way, much better direction. But you've still got to deal with the gunge that you've been putting in there for the whole of your life, if you like. You know, the engine needs a recondition, or you need to clean out the oil, the dirty fuel that's already in there. So that's what neurostate rebalancing does. It's a process to get your brain to clean out all the gunge, if you like. And it's not a 10-year, needing hours of therapy type process. This is an online process that you do on your own. It's really actually quite simple to do. But what that does is it gets your brain to start to eliminate the things that make you feel bad that are totally illogical, but that you've carried through beliefs and ideas throughout your entire life. You've put them in your brain so that your brain believes these things are true. Such things as life is hard, life is difficult. The world is full of, you have to work really hard and struggle to get anywhere in life, or, all of these things which make you feel bad, and therefore don't help. And none of them are true. Because, as I say, when you use your creative brain, you see the truth. And you realize that so many, if not nearly all of the ideas we have about who we are and how we get what we want in our life, they're simply not true. So that's what the coaching program's about.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
And how can the audience connect to you to, take that program?
All the details are on my website, which is just my name, liamnaden.com.
Okay. And we'll also have that in the show notes for anyone listening or watching. All right. Okay, great. Well, this was a very insightful discussion. I learned a lot today, as I'm sure the audience has as well. Now we'll have 2 more segments. So we'll move into 3 things with Liam. This just helps the audience get a little more insight to who you are and how you live your days. The first question is a 2-parter. How do you start and end your days?
Well, I wake up in the morning and I go to sleep at night. That's probably not quite what you meant. I don't have any particular routine or ritual because one of the things when you use your creative brain, you don't need routines and rituals. You find yourself doing the right thing at the right time. And I know that probably sounds a bit corny and cheesy, but you become much more productive and efficient by going with the natural flow of your own self, your own body. So you don't need to have this sort of routine of, stress. I need to do this. I need to get up and do 50 press ups or whatever. You find yourself naturally doing the right thing. So a typical morning for me, I hope this isn't too long an answer for what you probably want to be a short answer, but, I'd wake up and I'd do just naturally feel gratitude and think about how, some ideas probably came to me in the night about various things. Get up, go for a run, meditate, and that's how the day starts. And it's sort of a bit the opposite at the other end.
Awesome. So I know you talked a little bit about goal setting throughout this conversation. So if you are still setting any type of goals or intentions for yourself, do you mind sharing those with us?
I don't even know if you'd call it a goal, but my focus, my attention is to be the best that I can be in the present moment without fear. In other words, to allow the present moment to unfold, because my creative brain will make it unfold perfectly for me if I allow it to do that. So I try not to hold on to any expectation about what should or should happen, or judgment on what is happening, other than realizing everything is perfect. And my job is just to eliminate fear, not to live in a fearful state, unless I see a lion coming for me, of course. So yeah. It really is the opposite of goal setting. It's interesting. And funnily enough, some of these things are taught to us in places like the Bible. Jesus in the Bible says, give no thought for tomorrow, because tomorrow will take care of itself. And what's that really mean? It doesn't mean when the sun rises. It means tomorrow is the next moment. Your only job is to enjoy this moment, which is all you have anyway. Your brain is designed to ensure that you can enjoy and be the best that you can be in this moment. It'll look after everything for you. Just like your survival brain is looking after your heartbeat and your breathing, you're not worrying about it or trying to think about it. Your creative brain is managing the rest of your life to make sure that you're the best that you can be emotionally and spiritually and in your life experience. So, it is quite a different way to live, but it's the natural way to live, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. And last, what do you do on a day off?
Well, I don't really have a day on or off. I just do what I do, I think. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, we'll move into our last segment before I let you go. Can you give the audience 3 things you'd like them to take away from this discussion today?
The first thing is to realize your biological purpose. The reason, we live in a biological world with biological rules. One is gravity. You know that if you go out of a 10-story building, you're going to go down. Doesn't matter how you feel or think or how positive you feel. That's a law of nature. So we're governed by laws of nature, but one of the laws is the law of thriving. And the first takeaway is to realize biologically you are here to be the best that you can be. You're designed to be the best that you can be. That is your purpose. The second thing to realize is that you have a machine to enable you to do that. Your brain. You haven't just been thrown in the deep end with this great idea of being the best you can be. All of nature is set up for that to happen. So once you realize that your purpose is to be happy and you have a machine designed to make you happy, then the only thing you need to realize is all I need to figure out is how to use that machine. And if that becomes your mission, is to figure out how to use your natural machine to be the best that you can be, you're going to find life takes on a different meaning entirely and is a completely different experience. And it's not just another technique or reading another book about here's a way to get rich or here's a way to have everything you want. This is a natural law. It's just about understanding.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the time today and this is very insightful. I'm pretty sure the audience has learned a lot through this discussion and some really good takeaways.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thanks again to Liam for joining the show today. If you want to learn more about him and his program, check out the links in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Gyrl, visit glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes, sign up to join the show as a guest, grab our social links, and so much more. Hope you all are also checking out the Career Focused podcast episodes as well, where I share experiences from my personal journey relating to my career. These episodes are great for anyone who is looking to understand their strengths, elevate in their career, just deal with some everyday challenges or even pivot in their career journeys. You can also listen to those episodes at glowupgirl.com or your favorite podcast platform, as well as watching episodes on YouTube. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.